Made with love by Clover.
Welcome back, South Africa, and thank you for joining us for the second part of our cook-along. If you are looking for a sandwich that dreams are made of, then look no further than our Clover Bliss Chocolate ice cream sandwiches. This recipe is the perfect pair of vanilla ice cream and the indulgent, rich and creamy taste of Clover Bliss Chocolate Dairy Dessert.
My heart today. We did the cheesecake, and now this Bliss chocolate.
I know.
Sandwichy thingy.
I know, right? I know. But you are basically going to give us some tips and tricks because we're going to be using puff pastry for our ice cream sandwiches. But you gave me quite an interesting fact before we got into the second part, and you mentioned something about the history of ice cream sandwiches.
Yes, it's like 200 years ago already. The ice cream sandwiches was developed, and they used sponge, like a normal sponge, and they put ice cream in between. So this is nothing new.
That's the thing. So many times we think that we've invented recipes, and you find that no, this has been done. And I mean, I was telling you earlier about a recipe where they're using plain bread, not fancy sourdough, anything, like just normal white bread, and they put the ice cream in the actual bread, like literally in the slice, and eat it like that.
They do it in Vietnam. They take plain bread with ice cream, and they put some peanut on top of it, like crushed peanut, and they eat it like that. And I think I'm going to try that.
Yeah, well, you should. I think you should, but before you do, you better make sure you try this recipe first. And so to get it started, all I've got here is I've got some lemon juice that I'm squeezing into my bowl. So in essence, what we're doing is we're going to be macerating some berries, and that's basically just putting them in some liquid, let them soak up that liquid, and I'm going to mix that with some icing sugar as well.
So maceration, you're using lemon today, but you can use lime, can you use grape juice, any juice?
You can use any juice. You could even use a liqueur if you want, if you want a bit of additional flavor. Can I ask you just to pass me a spoon there? Let me add some of our icing sugar into this. Today we're using raspberries and blueberries, but you are more than welcome to use any kind of berry or fruit that you'd like. Obviously fruits that are easily maceratable, if that's a term. So stuff like apples and so forth are easier when they're cooked and not necessarily macerated in this form. So all we're doing is literally making the fruit sit in the liquid for a bit, absorb up that liquid, and basically soften up as well.
So it's going to have like that lemony flavor to it, and that's going to go over our delicious ice cream sandwich. But what we're doing today, we're not using sponge, we're not using wafers, we're not using bread, but we're using puff pastry.
Puff pastry.
And this is like a Neapolitan, you know, that French pastry, where they've got the pastries, and in between is like a custard, like a crème de pâtisserie.
Yes.
Is that the word?
Crème pâtissier, you're right.
And crème pâtissier here actually just means a thick custard, people. It's nothing fancy. So it's 2 layers of this with thick custard, and my mom used to call it a tambusi.
Okay.
Tambusi, with some lemon juice and some icing sugar over it. We call it tambusi.
Perfect.
But now to get these puff pastry squares, we've got puff pastry. And you know why it needs to be used straight out of the fridge, hey? Tell us.
The reason for that, South Africa, is if you let your puff pastry sit out at room temperature and then try use it for such recipes, is that the butter will already start melting, and you won't have those beautiful layers that you're trying to get here. You know, and even though we're going to press it down now, we still want to be able to get that nice crunchy texture from it.
Flaky.
Yes, nice and flaky. We don't want it to be too stodgy, you know?
Yeah, because puff pastry is basically butter and flour. That's it. Lots of butter, lots of butter. And it causes that layers that actually puffs out. So it's the water from the butter, the steam that puffs, that puffs out, and it actually causes beautiful puff layers. So it's a cold. We put it in our baking tray like this, and then you just cut it square. So I like to do it in the length. Like this one is about 1, 2, that's going to be a big one. That's for me. Like squares like that. And then I'm just going to cut them down in the middle. You can make it smaller.
And the best thing about what you're doing now is that you're not basically going to make them individually, because it's going to be hard to handle them individually. You do that, and because you've cut those layers through, we're literally just going to break it apart after it's been baking.
Exactly. And then what you do is your oven needs to be hot, normally 200 degrees for a puff pastry. Otherwise, it's going to be too slow, and then it's going to fall down again, the steam. And then you put another layer of wax paper over it, and you put your another baking tray on top of it, and you pushes it down like that, and that's the way to bake it.
Correct.
Why, Tumi? Tell the Mzansi people.
Because this is what we want. We want a nice, flat, flaky piece of wafer. We don't want it to be too thick. Although, if you would like to do it like that, if you'd want it to puff up, just bear in mind that it could be as thick as this.
Yes.
And if that's the sandwich you're going for, I mean, why not? Why not?
I would just add some more ice cream and push it down myself.
Of course,
just
of course.
like really?
Of course, indulgence, right?
Indulgence.
A friend of mine actually calls butter love, so that's basically a whole lot of love that you'll be having in there. But anyway, now we've got our elements together.
Yes.
That's baked. We've got some puff pastry that we made a little earlier, and you're taking out the ice cream for us so that we can basically start assembling the ice cream for our ice cream sandwiches.
This is like such a wonderful summer dessert.
Correct.
And what you notice about this, you can get the kids involved as well.
Correct.
You know, you can use chocolate wafers, you could use anything. You don't even have to bake, but you just need the bliss.
That's all we need, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the freshness from the berries, and then we've got the indulgence and decadence from our Clover Bliss chocolate dessert. So all we do now is I'm going to start assembling our ice cream sandwich, and all I do is put a scoop of our ice cream over there. If you would like to, South Africa, if you also want to be more indulgent than normal, you could even swirl in the Clover Chocolate Bliss into the ice cream and then pour it on top. I don't want to put too much of this because I basically just want to pour it on top just a little bit, so you just see specks of chocolate here and there. And the other thing about it is because of the range that they have, you could even use the other flavors. You could use the different flavors that they have. This Clover Bliss can be used in baking. It can be used as a topping, like we're going to be using it today. And basically, once we've done our sandwich, you top it with this amazing Clover Bliss chocolate dairy indulgence, amazing sweetness and flavor. And then we go in with our berries that we put right on top. And you've also got the sweetness from the sauce that's going to come from this macerated berries. And then I'm just going to top it off with a bit more fresh berries there. I'll make yours just now. I just wanted to make sure.
I'm standing here like, when am I going to get mine? When am I going to get mine? But what's nice, you can use any type of chocolate. You can, ice cream. I like strawberry. I would love some strawberry ice cream. But vanilla is perfect for this. But whatever kids, you can have different ice creams in bowls.
Correct.
For your family. You can have different fruits.
Yes.
And you can have different types of pastry or biscuits, so everybody can make them own, and then just have the bliss on the side so everybody can just pour it all over.
Exactly, exactly. And that's basically it. This recipe is so simple, so easy, and also perfect to get the family involved. So to get your hands on this amazing recipe, do go over to afternoonexpress.co.za.
Made with love by Clover.